to me, geez, you know, wouldn't it be great to have information about your credit cards in there? And we had just had never thought of that portion of it. And the more you think about it, if someone loses it, my mother went away to France, had all of her information stolen, had to call me for all of the information during that time. And of course, we didn't copy anything down. So now I was stuck calling every credit card company, not knowing the name. Had to get her power of attorney, actually, which I am, in order to get the documents so that I'd be able to fax over to my mom all the information that was lost. Again, credit card information, to put it in here, your dates, your numbers, what company it is. So you have one central place where all of it is located. So if something was stolen, guess what? You can go to your booklet and say, okay, these are the cards that I lost or I'm missing. Can I please get them reissued? Here's the number, stop payments, whatever need be. So again, great example. And when we do these seminars, we are always looking for input from people like yourself who deal with this every day. Great ideas to put into this booklet so it makes it more, I'll say, helpful to people so that they are able to add more to it and make sure that everything's documented and in place.
You know, I found a simple way to do that credit card thing is just put them on a copy machine and then turn them over and copy the other side. It's a very simple way to do it. You don't have to do a lot of writing, and you can probably just staple it in on the page.
Add it right to the kit.
Right.
Perfect way.
Yeah. How about life insurance and property insurance? Why is that important?
Because oftentimes, you know, at least we'll talk about the life insurance. Someone passes away. Many times, I can't tell you how many times, people will come into the office. They won't know, you know, regardless of whether it's for a Mass Health application or in the event someone has passed away and they want to put in some kind of a claim, and they won't know if there are policies, if the policies are still valid. They'll be completely in the dark. So in the event you've provided for loved ones and you want them to be able, with as less aggravation as possible and to make it less time consuming, it's helpful to list all the information so that it's available. The property insurance information is helpful because in the event you're not able to undertake certain claims or communicate information, someone who's acting on your behalf has access to that information. Otherwise, they may not have access to that information, and it would just make it far more difficult for them to assist you in filing a claim.
Should a person list information about the relationships with medical professionals?
I think that they should. I think they should indicate who their physicians are, what they do, what their specialties are, so that in the event they lack capacity down the road, there is an individual, you know, a loved one who can look at the documentation that's been prepared for them when the person has the capacity to do so and see which doctors do what on behalf of someone. Some people see many doctors, not one or two. Some people see a lot of doctors.
It's interesting. I think we need to make note of the fact that while this deals with end-of-life documents in many ways, it also deals with living documents, and that's a very important part of this. This isn't just for what's going to happen when I die. It's what's going to happen if I'm incapacitated.
It's exactly right, Larry.
I'm sure listing information about valuable papers and assets is important. Why and how?
Oftentimes, people will come in and they won't be able to find their documents, like I said. Powers of attorney, wills. They won't know what will happen if they execute new documents, what's going to happen to the old documents. I know they're out there. I don't know if the prior attorney has them. I don't know if they're in the house. They won't even be able to remember where their documents are. So with the Be Prepared, Be Organized kit, they're able to list the location of their important documents and when they were executed. Hopefully, when they're filling in the location of the documents, they're able to say something like they're, you know, prepared and they're in this document. They're
Not
in
only
the
that,
kit.
Not only that, Nick, but when you think about it, we have many times that people come to us and will revise their documents,
That's
their
true.
wills, their power of attorney, and healthcare
Happens
proxy.
all the time.
And many times people revert back to the old will because they can't find the new one. So this has the access for you to put down the date it was revised, if it was revised, and the location. So again, another important factor in it.
Tough topic. Obituary writing. I thought that was very interesting.
Tough topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it came about when my dad passed away 14 years ago. It was a huge catastrophic event. He had no sickness. They were in Florida. My mom and dad had a Florida home and went there every year. And I'll never forget the call from my mom saying that, Donna, your dad died. And she was devastated. She was alone down there. So we went into mode of, okay, let's go get my mom, bring my dad home, close up the home, and we'll figure it out when we get home. We got home to getting my mom okay, settled in the house. Everybody was distraught. No one expected it to happen. Certainly a very catastrophic event for our whole family. My father was a policeman who took care of everybody and always was the head matriarch of our whole family. And so all of us were devastated. And my two sisters and myself had to go to the funeral parlor, and my mom was so distraught she doesn't even recall the time. I know that she had to take some medicine to calm down because it was such a horrible time for us all. And to go to the funeral parlor and have them ask me questions that I didn't know, things like basic things, even like, did he ever go to college? And I didn't recall that. And maybe it because it was such a bad time for our family and we were upset about having to even pick out a coffin, never mind all the details. Then they start asking you the personal questions about your parent. We were all crying, and it was difficult to even probably think straight. And luckily, we had some information on my dad. My dad's friend was still alive. We called him and got the information from him of all the things that my father had done that I didn't even know. So for me, they ask a lot of questions. What school did he go to? When did his parents pass away? Did he have brothers and sisters? Things that I couldn't recall at the time. So for me, that really pushed it into action to say we need a really detailed part, and that's exactly what we did with this kit, was how to write an obituary. It tells you there are certain things that people want said, not said. It gives you the ability to put that in.
It's almost like a check sheet then.
It is. It's got religious affiliations. If they volunteered somewhere, like you with all your volunteer activities, that may be something that you'd want to put as a tribute, even not you, but maybe your family. I wanted to write that my dad was the first person to initiate the Worcester Police Department Golf League. I didn't know that about him, but I was so proud that that was one of his things. He was in the Army, an Army sergeant for years, so things like that that I didn't know about. This gives you the ability to do it, like my mom, yourself, even myself, to write down what was most important in my lifetime.
Speaking of important, pets are important to us, and I thought it was very interesting that you included information about pets. Can you share that with us?
Well, in Massachusetts, you can't provide for your pet by will. It's got to be by trust. A lot of people will have pets, and as you said, you know, they're very dear to them, and they'll pass away without making appropriate accommodations for their pets. This helps them do so.
It has pet directives so that you're able to put down who the veterinarian is, because a lot of people wouldn't know. I wouldn't even know if my sister, God forbid, had something happen to her. She has 3 dogs. I wouldn't know where they go, anything. She knows that I would probably take care of them or help take care of them, but the key is that I know no information about them. This allows you to put the information about your pet in there.
The next thing I want to talk about is something that just struck me as being something so powerful, and it's called My Life Letter to My Family.
Nick and I went back and forth on this. Nick was not sure that that was something we should add, and I always tell a little story when I do the seminar that my father was, shall I say, detailed, very, I'll say, sergeant-like. He was in the Army for years. He was a police officer, so very regimented, and my dad wasn't very, shall I say, soft and demonstrative with his feelings. And the hard part was that when he passed away, 3 days before when he passed, my dad had called. Oh, actually, I called him and I had asked him for a recipe for turkey soup. My dad was famous for making his turkey soup, and I called down to Florida, and my father, I'll call him a miser at that time, didn't want to waste money. He said, Donna, he says, I don't want to stay on the phone long. He said, it's going to cost you a fortune. He says, I'll mail it to you. And again, my dad never really said too much, just, yep, we'll be home in April, give the kids a kiss, my children and my husband and myself, and that was it. And 3 days later, my dad passed. And what had happened was, after we brought him home and the funeral had occurred, it was probably the next week, during that week, I received that letter from my father. And even though we call it in my family the turkey soup letter, it was really touching for all of us because of the fact that my dad had sent me a letter, and at the end, for some reason, where he was never demonstrative, wrote things like, we'll see you in a couple weeks. We're happy to be coming home. Tell Steve and the kids that we miss and love them, and I love you very much.
Wow.
And from my father, who every night I'd say I love you, he'd, okay, have a good night, yep, I'll see you in the morning. That was my dad, and that was okay. Very happy with who he was, but I never had anything. And this letter has been, in a sense, my saving grace, my one thing that I had from my dad that I never had. I never really kept birthday cards or anything like this, but the fact that he wrote a letter, turkey soup recipe, and at the end he wrote a little blurb about how much he missed us and how he loved us. And I've forever kept that. I drag it out on holidays. I'll tell our children about it. I tell my family about it. Oh, here's Daddy's letter, or Grandpa's letter regarding our turkey soup. But that was the one thing that I've forever kept, because it was the only thing that I had from my dad that was written. So for me, it was touching, and I said to Nick, wouldn't it be great if people could write something if they wanted to? And we leave this very optional. When we are doing the seminars, even, I will always say, if you're not comfortable with this, it's okay, you don't have to include it. But if you wanted to, there may be something of importance. My daughter graduated from nursing school. Do I want to write something about how proud I was the day that she graduated? Most certainly. Or that my son, who does wonderful things, and my other son who's still in high school, and my husband, and my mom at 85 who's my best friend. Will I include that in the letter? Most certainly, because I want them to be able to keep something and read something once I've passed about what my life was like now, what's happening now. So for me, that was my important touch to it. So
What a great gift. What an
Yeah.
absolutely great gift. When should somebody do all this, and how old should they be?
I think that at least a basic estate plan is needed by all adults. So probably when someone is 30, 40 years of age, at least have a durable power of attorney, a healthcare proxy. We'll say a testamentary document, you know, probably a simple will suffice. As a person gets older, let's say they're, you know, in their 50s or 60s, they should at least start thinking about perhaps the need for estate planning, or more involved estate planning, or perhaps Medicaid planning, mass health planning. What's going to happen to them in the event they need to go into a nursing home? What's going to happen to the money that they have? So I would say by 60, 65 years of age, they need to have put a Medicaid plan in place. In the event they are intending to do so, that would call for the use of trust planning.
Yes, sir. Well, this has really been informative, and I hope that everyone benefits by hearing what you have to say as much as I benefited by hearing it the first time. Nick and Donna do a radio show every Saturday morning at 11 o'clock on WTAG 580 AM, 94.9 FM. It's Saturday at 11 o'clock, and they do a variety of topics and a variety of interviews with people who can help seniors. The other thing that they do is they do free educational seminars every Wednesday at their elder and disability law advocates offices, and you can reach them to sign up to attend one of those sessions at 508-755-6525, or email them at edlalaw.com. I want to thank you very much for spending the time with us
Thank you,
today.
Larry.
thank you, Larry.
And I also want to thank you for what you're doing for the senior community and for the community in general. This idea is just one that's spectacular, and I hope that you got as much out of listening to this show today as I did the first time I heard about this program. The things that are coming up at the Shrewsbury Senior Center are in the monthly newsletter that was mailed to members of the center, and I suggest that everyone drop by the Shrewsbury Senior Center who's eligible to participate there. There are all kinds of things going on, from coffee clutches in the morning to luncheons every day at lunchtime to yoga classes and the classes that I teach with other members of the volunteers, that is, at the center. There are just lots of things to do, and we hope that you'll stop by often, and that you'll begin to get some value from all the things that the Senior Center has to offer. Until next time, I'm Larry Gloa, and my guests from the Elder and Disability Law Advocates, I want to thank you for watching, and thank you very much for
Thanks, Larry.
being here.
Thank you.
you.